can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence?
I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
You know the Mar-a-Lago controversy of the pricing or the
inflated value of the house.
The Mar-a-Lago. The judge ruled that it was worth $18 million. It's 20 acres in like the most expensive real estate in that area. Like a house down the street from it, much smaller. It's just sold for $50 million.
Today, the crown jewel of Palm Beach is worth an estimated $350 million.
They were saying that it's worth $18 million.
When New York Attorney General Leticia James started her persecution of Donald Trump, I was actually hopeful that the people of New York would see right through this as purely political. However, the partisanship in New York City apparently is so bad that the jury went ahead and found Donald Trump guilty anyway, despite the fact that there were no victims and no one complained about it. And don't forget, Leticia James actually campaigned on the idea of going after Donald Trump for anything. They were going to find something, no matter what it was.
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses.
Will you sue him for us? Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
That man in the White House who can't go a day without threatening our fundamental rights.
Yes, we need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. We need to find out whether or not he's engaged in conspiracy. It's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
So this, of course, is how leftist communists act. They're going to find a person they don't like and pin a crime on them. Now, the good news is this whole thing is falling apart because on appeal, because as we've all been suspecting, this case is so weak, the judges are going to rip it apart, as we're going to see here.
May it please the court, Judith Vail for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vail, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Well, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Every case that you cite involved where there was damage to consumers, damage to the marketplace. You've got a scheme to get unsophisticated consumers to take out home loans. You got a collapse of Lehman Brothers. You don't have anything like that here.
So in other words, this is an unprecedented case where the Attorney General decided to go after someone, in this case Donald Trump, where there was no harm done. There was no protections needed for the public. These are all private entities agreeing on a business transaction that no one complained about but Leticia James. She's going to weed that out. She's going to find something somewhere, and this was the best they could do. And as we were all saying, it's not going to pass the smell test. Now, we don't know how this is going to turn out, of course, but just from this line of questioning, they're looking for some type of precedent set, and there isn't any, right? This is an extreme case, a one-off, because we have a completely biased Attorney General who campaigned once again on getting Donald Trump and apparently nothing else.
Now, today, in front of a panel of 5 appellate justices, Trump's lawyer argued that this huge judgment should be thrown out, arguing that it's grossly excessive in large part because the civil case was based on allegations past the statute of limitations.
still doesn't allow the trial court to do what it did, which is to go way back in time to 2011 and 2012 and assign liability and major consequences, huge financial consequences, based on an analysis that never looked at a 2017 or 2015 statements that.
Trump's lawyers also argued that there was no victims in this case.
Welcome back. New York Appeals Court judges now pushing back hard against Leticia James, saying that the nearly $500 million penalty that she got against former President Trump appears unjustified, expressing doubts, saying the penalty was, quote, troubling, that Leticia James was out of bounds, that there should be guardrails around Leticia James. Let's welcome former clerk to Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. He's the president of the Article 3 Project. He's Mike Davis. Mike, what do you make of all this? That penalty was decided only by Judge Engoron, not a jury. Engoron is a longtime Democrat donor. What do you think of the appeals court here?
The appeals court is showing some sanity in New York, much needed sanity, that even these Democrat-appointed judges understand how outrageous this verdict was against President Trump. They're trying to claim that President Trump overvalued Mar-a-Lago. They pretend Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million when it's 20 acres of the most prime real estate in Palm Beach County, Florida, the most expensive real estate in the country. And they're trying to say that Trump overvalued his real estate, and therefore these sophisticated Wall Street banks were somehow duped. And even though Trump paid them back in full, on time, as agreed, with interest, that somehow he defrauded the public. It's an absolutely insane theory.
Let's go through what the judges were saying. Justice John Higgett questioned maybe there should be legal guardrails put around Leticia James, that she's going into an area that wasn't intended for her jurisdiction. Other justices said basically you have two really sophisticated players, Deutsche Bank and Trump. No one lost any money, no impact on the public marketplace. This was between two private sector players. Even if there was a problem, it sounds like a potential commercial dispute by private actors. So why did the state have to weigh in?
They didn't. And it's because this New York Attorney General, Tish James, a Democrat who campaigned on getting Trump, as part of the Democrats' campaign of lawfare and election interference. She illegally contorted, politicized, and weaponized a New York statute intended, a consumer protection statute intended for persistent fraud, to go after her political enemy, Donald Trump.
And that's what we've all been recognizing all along. There was no case here, right? No one lost money. No one was hurt. The public interest unaffected. And yet Leticia James decided to go after him anyway because all that Soros money that got her elected gave her the mandate, right? She had to do this because Donald Trump is so hated and so hateful. And you watch that clip at the beginning, the highlight reel of her going around saying she's going to get Trump, and the people around her just clapping and so happy she's going to go out and get Trump. Why? What's the purpose, right? What was he doing to you? Oh, he was unpopular. He was shutting the border. We had economic prosperity. We got to put him in jail, right? And that is basically the long and the short of it. So thank goodness we may have on the horizon a little bit of sanity in New York City. And as I mentioned, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but we can be hopeful simply from the line of questioning that we're hearing. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.